And it's caught for a touchdown. It's caught! And Giroux's got it!
And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the return edition of the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio. Feels odd to say good morning, given the former times of doing this show right here on Kutztown Radio, but nevertheless, 11 a.m. New time for this last semester, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio. So, an interesting shift of time there. And, this will be my last semester here on Kutztown Radio, given that I will be graduating in May as far as regular classes goes, and then I'll be interning, the summer semester, beginning late May to early August or whatever it is. Looking forward to that, and definitely juggling around a few options right now. Several options, and at some point I'll be bringing them up on the show here, because there's definitely some potential. There's a potential for some interesting internship options for me ahead. So I've gotten questions from friends, like such as Batman Wayne, who lives out near my way, and he said, what are you gonna do? Now that the Eagles season is over, football season is essentially, what are you gonna do for a whole 2-hour show now? And I said, well, I don't know, maybe make a complete fool of myself sometime when I don't have anything better to do. But no, actually, just to give an idea of what's ahead for this semester here on KR, my last semester doing the Tyler Werner Show, the Philadelphia sports talk show right here on the station. One of the things I definitely am going to be doing in the coming weeks, certainly, and just minutes ago, I kind of had a little conversation with someone about this. I'm going to be having some co-hosts every now and then. I've definitely I'm trying to push maybe segments of the show, 20-minute blocks or whatever, when maybe I'll have a co-host on. One of them, who I just had a recent conversation with minutes ago, before the show started, Mitch Lambert, who I believe he does a music show, a typical music show with two other people on this station, but he is an avid Eagles and Flyers fan, so I'm sure we'll be having him on pretty frequently. I guess not today. He's off studying, and today the main focus is going to be on the very interesting Super Bowl. Mainly the dramatic game that was Super Bowl 49 between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. And I originally thought last week we were going to do the first edition of the Tyler Werner Show for the semester, but we got a new audio board here, and it's interesting to work with right here the first time on this show. Mint condition and everything. Should be a lot of fun working with this thing. And basically, I was gonna preview the Super Bowl last week, but obviously we couldn't do that. We still had some things getting set up here, and I was going to discuss a lot about Deflategate.
To me, those balls are perfect.
Yes, and specifically Tom Brady's take on that, and Bill Belichick, and just some of the I guess audio, no pun intended, kind of audio, and that they had in their press conferences the past couple of weeks after the Colts game, the very lopsided Colts game, where having seen what the Patriots were able to accomplish in the Super Bowl, in hindsight, I don't think deflation of any balls really had to do with anything, as far as the New England Patriots romping the Indianapolis Colts to get back to the Super Bowl for the sixth time in this Belichick and Brady-led regime. That's my opinion on that. I mean, I'll go back in time a little bit here to, I guess, set the tone here. A little timeline of events. I come back First of all, my first day of school, and I'll send a little shout out to him in the process here. I come back, first day of school. I open the door to the Rickenbach Learning Center, whereas basically I have all my classes. That's essentially where the electronic media / I guess communications major building. That's our building basically for our classes and everything. And I open the door, and the first person I see, and the only person I see, is Professor Neal, who, for those who don't know, I mean, he's had some, had some good gigs, I guess, if I want to call him, with some, several different news stations. He brought to my attention last semester when I had a video field production class with him. He's interviewed Brent Selleck. He's interviewed LaShawn McCoy, a couple other guys at some point in recent years, on the Eagles but I opened the door. He's the first guy I see. I don't know. Look, for whatever reason, it kind of looked like he was waiting for something. He was kind of looking around. But I was the only guy in the room there at the time with him in the lobby there, and he said, it's like he kind of read my mind a little bit. He brought up something about also coming on this show and co-hosting at some point. I said, yeah, I'll have to let you know sometime. He brought to my attention about how, for instance, the NHL is thinking about moving, adding a couple teams to make it 32, and I kind of said how, yeah, I mean, I think that sounds inevitable to me because, isn't it? It's odd how you have 16 teams in one conference, then you have 14. You have two split divisions. The Eastern Conference, you have 8 and 8, which that kind of makes sense. But then the Western Conference is odd because you have 7 and 7, and 8 teams from both conferences make the playoffs. So in the West, obviously, it's easier to make the playoffs. Even though I would argue in recent, at least last year, and somewhat this year, the Western Conference has had stronger teams as it is overall, top to bottom for the most part. But so, anyways, I mean, he kind of read my mind a little bit as far as coming on this show, being a guest host, and I'm sure at some point we'll have Professor Neal on, and certainly I'll have to ask him about his experiences, interviewing guys like LaShawn McCoy and Brent Selleck, being in the media there. Although, I got to point this out, for whatever odd reason, he happens to be a Giants fan. So I don't know if, maybe I'll bring that up too. But I think he's worked in New York. I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll try to ask about that if he's on at some point in the recent weeks. But that's the direction I'm trying to go in with this. This 2-hour show. As far as former producer during the fall semester, Tyler Fleming, he did a fine job, I thought, throughout the fall semester, helping me out with a bit of a complex show to do here, I guess, on KUR, the Tyler Werner show, with all the audio that I'll be pulling. Today there'll be plenty of Deflategate audio and post Super Bowl audio and thoughts from some of the key players in that big Super Bowl we had this past weekend. But sometimes it's a matter of how class schedules work out, and for me, this 11 to 1, I guess, lunchtime time block here for me was a good fit for me. Definitely a big change from the 6 to 8 in the evening, and I don't know, the noon to 1 I had in the spring semester, and I don't know, I think I did 3 to 4 over the summer or whatever, so all kinds of time changes. But I like this 11 to 1 o'clock time block. It helps fill the gap between the class I just came from and the class afterwards, the senior seminar class, where I'm talking about internships and kind of a thinking about the future kind of class. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Definitely going to bring some co-hosts on. But yeah, as far as Tyler Fleming goes, he did a good job, I think, in the fall semester. And I'm not sure when his show is, but I encourage you to listen to it. I think he does. I think his show is like, I don't know, close to midnight or something on one of these nights on KUR. I'm not sure, but so I'm kind of handling all the legwork here on the Tyler Werner, as far as the commercials and everything. So given that, I think strategically here, and I'll be my goal for this show as far as making it different, and being able to, being able to handle everything a little easier, is again, playing audio samples of press conferences of things that'll be going on. Maybe sometimes that'll help me get organized, obviously, and just, other things. We'll have, again, co-hosts on, not today, but certainly in the future, as we have a big Eagles off season. There's a lot to get into about the Eagles, and I mean, I left off with what? I mean, it was I think it was the loss to the Seahawks, I think, and then leading into that second Cowboys game. That was finals week during the fall semester in early December or whenever it was, and that's basically where I left off. And a lot happened after that. So we'll save it because we're coming off of the Super Bowl, and obviously, there's a lot to reflect on there, and not to mention Deflategate and some of the things that are coming out of that, some of the things that have been coming out of that, and just everything. We'll wrap it into today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show, right here on Kutztown Radio. Now, let me bring up something from the KUR notebook here. Want to be successful at an upcoming fair? Then you must attend this brief orientation session soon for the How to Work a Career Fair. Find out what it takes to work at a job fair with positive results, including what do you do before you arrive, when you arrive, how to work your way around the room, and how to prepare your 30-second commercial. That's for Tuesday, February 10th, 11 to 11:30 a.m., I'm assuming, at the McFarland Student Union Building, room 250, How to Work a Career Fair. So that's that. Now, again, we're creeping up on the first break here. And as far as this show goes, I mentioned I have a class after the show. So typically, it begins at 1 o'clock. So I'm typically going to end the show around 12:50. I get 10 of 1, so I have time to save the podcast file and this and that, and then get over to class. So we'll end it a little early, and then I guess when I bring up this Jockey Pro program, for those who don't know, that's like an automatic. That's basically a certain times. There's set music to play when nobody here is doing a show, and the ads and everything. So, I guess I'll for that brief moment there we're in the show, I'll turn into a little more of a disc jockey kind of radio host, just to, I guess, so I can get out of here at a good time and get over to my important class after this at a good time, and lead you into a little music, I guess, maybe whatever comes up after that, and then it does the top of the hour stuff, given it's 1 o'clock, and etc. So that's basically that. I mean, we got a lot of things to get into with the Super Bowl today, but I got to throw out the old cliche there. I had there were some housekeeping things, I guess, to take care of wherever that cliche comes from, and as more things come to my head, there'll probably be some other, housekeeping things that'll come up every now and then. But I had to bring those things up. It's my last semester here. I'm sure it's going to fly by here on KUR, just like every semester does. And I think it'll be an interesting show, given that we're going to have some co-hosts some co-hosting to join the show, and freshen things up a little bit. And my idea was to also look into like sports-related forums on topics and just like random posts and say what other people are saying about certain issues, so that it's not just me sitting here and as if I'm giving a, just a straight monologue lecture where, basically it's everything I say. It's only, you only hear my viewpoint and everything like that. I have the microphone and you don't, so you got everything I say matters.
Well, I have a microphone and
exactly.
You don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
I don't want it to, be one of those kind of deals where it's just, it's all me. I obviously I'll react to things that other people are saying. I'll give my spin off of some things people are saying because, not everybody calls this station, obviously, but I'd always love to have callers. I think, I can put you on. I don't have a producer, but there's a way I can do it. But I'll have to like say like, hello, you're live on KUR, to make sure that it's somebody that wants to be on the air and that it's not somebody calling the station because they're locked out of the station part that they want to get in here, like something that happened last semester. But again, I didn't pick up the phone and put them on the air when that did happen. But that's just an example of it. But I understand that. I think like Colin Cowherd once said, out of people that listen to sports talk programs, like 1% of those people that listen actually call in, which makes sense, obviously. But so that's that. That's why obviously I won't get a lot of calls in, but you can at 610-683-4058 and share your thoughts in the Super Bowl, and I'll gladly take your call. And first when I answer, I'll make sure you give your name and want to make sure that you do know that you're going to be on the air. And if not, I mean, there's like an 8-second window where I can press the delay button if for some reason it's somebody that's calling in and they don't want to, and it's a mistake and they don't want to be on the air, or God forbid it's a prank call or something like that. But that's that. You can always go to facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, or just in the search box, type in Tyler Werner Show on KUR, and you'll be able to find my Facebook page, and post a thought on the page there. I normally post something like, join us, like today, join us from lunch today from 11 to 1 as we return, yada, yada, yada. And you can post a comment on that if you want. So, those are the ways to get in. But certainly I'll be reacting to, again, like topics that are going on, username, Fuzzy Slippers 191 or whatever said yada, 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 and etc. Because it's about, it's not just about my thoughts, but it's about the people's thoughts. And then, I like to react to those thoughts. So that's a bit of the creative direction, I guess, we're going in, or I'm going in on the show this semester, and throughout the semester here on the KUR Philadelphia Sports Radio Talk Show, the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. So with that in mind, 610-683-4058, that is the number to get in, or facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, we are Pack 183, and we are listening to KUR.
1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison, then the first thing you should do is call 1-800-222-1222. Poison can be anything you're not supposed to take. Antifreeze, pesticide, the wrong drug by mistake. If you breathe a nasty chemical, been bitten by a snake, call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here for you night or day.
For a poison or drug emergency at home or at work, just call the Poison Control Center hotline. We're here 24/7 with the expert help you need. Free and confidential. Even if you think it's a false alarm, call
1-800-222-1222 or 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
a message from your Poison Control Center.
Some days one ball may feel good, the next day it may not. It depends on maybe how, I don't know, the humidity in the air or how old the ball was, or, I think there's a lot of variables with obviously Mother Nature and with the balls.
Yeah, that was a little sample last week of Tom Brady. Or last week, I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks ago now already, whenever it was, after the Colts game and the week afterwards, with the Deflategate investigation that was going on. That press conference with Tom Brady, it went on for like a half hour, and it was Tom Brady, he didn't look very comfortable up there. That, and he kind of, you could tell he was holding back his laughter, and I'm going to play a little bit of that in a moment, I guess, because, again, to kind of gather myself a little bit and, maybe get back to a little, the coffee I was looking to get back to a little bit, and, just to gather myself, kind of get a couple things together, given that I'm in the studio, the on-air room alone doing all this, the legwork here by myself. So it's but it's a well-oiled machine that we're running here. So on KUR. So that's, again, that was a bit of a sample where Bill Belichick before that, after beating the Colts, in the days following that game, he kind of said how we, I don't know anything about this, and so he kind of deferred to Tom Brady. That's where he had his rather extensive press conference. So let me, before we get into all the Super Bowl talk and everything, a little bit, let me roll a little bit of this Tom Brady audio from, I guess, a couple weeks ago to kind of set the stage here, and that he didn't, basically says he didn't alter the balls in any way.
Alter the balls. When and how you supposedly alter the balls?
I didn't, have any, I didn't alter the ball in any way. I have a process that I go through before every game where I go in and I pick the balls that I want to, the footballs that I want to use for the game. Our equipment guys do a great job of breaking the balls in. They have the process that they go through. When I pick those footballs out, at that point, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them, putting any air in them, taking the air out. To me, those balls are perfect, and that's what I expect when I show up on the field. So, that happened obviously on Sunday night. It was the same process that I always go through. I didn't think anything of it. Obviously I woke up Monday morning and answered a question on the radio about it. And that was the first I really heard of it.
So Tom, you never thought those... What do you think happened? This has raised a lot of uncomfortable conversations for people around this country who view you, three-time Super Bowl champion, a two-time MVP, as their idol. The question they're asking themselves is, what's up with our hero? So can you answer right now, is Tom Brady a cheater?
I don't believe so. I feel like I've always played within the rules. I would never do anything to break the rules. I believe in fair play, and I respect the league and, everything that they're doing to try to create a very competitive playing field for all the NFL teams. It's a very competitive league. Every team is, trying to do the best they can to win every week. I believe in fair play, and I always believe in it for as long as I'm playing.
What do you feeling that, did Coach know it all, Tom? Did Coach know about this process at all? And after he spoke earlier, everybody kind of said that he kind of threw you in front of the bus. Did you feel like he kind of just put you in front of this?
No, I think everyone's obviously trying to figure out what happened. I think that's, the main thing over the last couple days. It's trying to figure out, what happened. Like I said, I was as surprised as anybody when I heard Monday morning what was happening. that's, I think over the last few days, people have been trying to figure out, as the NFL is trying to figure out, what part of the process and from when I saw the ball, which was 5 hours before halftime, what exactly happened.
Tom, do all NFL quarterbacks doctor the balls? And do you feel you've done anything differently than anybody else in the league?
I'm not sure. I can only speak for myself. I think that there's a process that everybody goes through breaking in footballs, and it's probably a lot like a baseball mitt when you're a kid. I try to explain that to my friends a lot. When you use and that's your equipment, and that's a football is something that I handle on every play. I want to be very familiar with the equipment that I'm using, just like my cleats, just like my helmet, just like my my pads. You go through that process of breaking the balls in and getting comfortable with them. Of course, I choose the balls that I want to use for the game, and then that's what I expect to go out on the playing field with.
Tom, how important is it for you to get this out of the way and take this head on so that your teammates and the rest of the team can get focused on the Super Bowl?
Well, that's where the importance is, as far as I'm concerned. I know, this is a very important thing, and that's why I'm here addressing it. I know my teammates, we've accomplished something really special getting to this point. I don't like the fact that this has taken away from some of the accomplishment of, what we've achieved as a team. And I think, hopefully our best is still to come. So we're going to work as hard as we can over the next 10 days to put ourselves in, a great position to be prepared for the game.
All right, and certainly they were prepared for that game against the Seattle Seahawks. As I think it's interesting because some people were wondering if, like, heading into this big Super Bowl game against the Seahawks, they were wondering whether or not all this stuff was going to be a distraction, all this Deflategate stuff, and then on the other hand, you had the theory that I don't know, maybe it motivates them more. All this stuff, people thinking that the Patriots are cheaters again. Another scandal around this organization. They had to some people were ridiculous about this, to say the least, and said they should have been absolutely disqualified. They won that game because they dropped the balls down a couple PSIs or whatever. Tom Brady is a cheater or whatever. And
to me, those balls are perfect,
etc. And again, I don't think that had anything to do with the Patriots at Foxborough in bad conditions, where Tom Brady historically can still play well, and where the Colts, who play in a dome and who have nobody on the roster really other than Andrew Luck right now and T.Y. Hilton, it doesn't add up, and I think it's just Patriot fan haters and certainly in the after the Patriots win that Super Bowl, with footballs, that were probably watched over like a hawk more than ever. You can't really dispute this win against the Seattle Seahawks, who hadn't lost a game since mid-season against the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid back then.
It was like sweet and sour pork, right?
Yeah, and since then, the Seahawks had gotten their act together. Their defense had been lights out good, like at the level it was last year. They were holding teams to 3 points, 3.6 points, etc., 7 points for nearly weeks. And that's the bottom line. Now, they had a miraculous win against obviously the Green Bay Packers, which is, a different story in of itself. But you get the point. That's Aaron Rodgers and some of the playmakers they have. But the Seahawks on their worst day there were still able to come up with the win against the Green Bay Packers to advance to the Super Bowl. And I knew, I knew, and I think it was pretty evident still that the Seahawks were not going to turn in, they were not going to be on their C game like they were against the Green Bay Packers, because yeah, that was probably the worst you'd ever see. You know, Russell Wilson, that's an aberration that he threw 4 interceptions in that game and was having a, just overall pretty bad game until the final few minutes in overtime. That's, you're not going to get, and certainly you didn't really get that in this game. Although, you got to say, in the first quarter, I mean, the Seahawks weren't moving the ball very well. The first quarter, first half, until the mid-half or whatever it was when the Seahawks were finally, getting down the field, getting a touchdown, and then one with, miraculous with 30 seconds left. Got to give them credit there when you would have thought they were just going to run out the clock and take it to halftime. Again, you had to. I mean, I guess Russell Wilson was en route to making, I guess, the kind of history you don't want to make is he hadn't completed a pass until, X amount of time in the second quarter, whenever it was. I guess, he didn't surpass the record of the amount of time, going that amount of time without completing a pass in a Super Bowl game like that. But he was chasing the kind of history there that I guess you don't want to chase. But other than that, I mean, once they got going, and I mean the third quarter, I mean, you kind of just saw, Russell Wilson and pretty much at his best. Marshawn Lynch making, having a decent game, going over 100 yards, not a big surprise there.
Just about that action, boss.
Yeah, and certainly he had his share of controversy last week, which, I'll get into a little later when I get into talking about the media a little more, I guess. But, again, I mean, once that offense started to hum, I mean, in this Patriots defense, to be fair, is, better than what they saw facing Green Bay a couple of weeks ago. Their secondary, I mean, Brandon Browner, former Seahawk himself. You got Darrelle Revis, Revis Island or whatever, and the Patriots, I mean, they don't have, lights out defense like the Seahawks do maybe, but they have a decent defense, a decent enough defense here. And, definitely early on in that game, they held they were forcing 3 and outs on the against the Seattle Seahawks. But, they started to get exposed a little later in the game. And when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who can obviously make great plays with his feet, he's got that mobile ability, but when he runs, he slides or he gets out of bounds. He doesn't, take unnecessary hits like some guys. And there's plenty of guys I hear out there who, criticize, quarterbacks, they shouldn't run the ball or whatever. And it's kind of silliness. It's perfectly fine if they can get out of the pocket, maybe avoid a brutal hit, and then, get a first down, maybe more, and slide and not take a hit at all, or get out of bounds and not take a hit at all. And then not only that, I mean, again, it goes to the read option, that they run occasionally and run rather well. When you got, obviously, beast mode himself, Marshawn Lynch, who can, and was in this game, just dragging guys at times, dragging 3 or 4 defenders as he's getting extra yards after contact and everything. And, obviously one of the top 3 backs in the league right now, I think, arguably, obviously, in that mix. And, turning in another great season with the Seahawks. And so you got him, and then you got Russell Wilson, obviously, who can make plays with his legs. And it feels a little bit like deja vu, because I remember last year, after the Super Bowl, my very first show here, live on KUR, I was talking about, after the Seahawks had won that Super Bowl against the Broncos, not to sell Russell Wilson short, no pun intended there, given that he's 5'11" or whatever, 5'10" is obviously pretty short for a quarterback, and one of the reasons he he dropped as far as he did in the NFL draft, a couple years ago. But again, you go and this kind of applies a little bit to Chip Kelly and how he wants to run the read option offense, and all the conversation out there. Does he draft Marcus Mariota? Does he make a move? And we'll get into plenty of that conversation. I'm sure for another day here on the Tyler Werner Show. Along with maybe some co-hosts. But again, going back to the read option, got Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch. They can run that well. Now, if Marshawn Lynch, if they cut him loose or he retires this year, they have looks like they have Robert Turbin, who had a nice 20-yard pickup or whatever it was in that last 30 seconds of play in the first half of this Super Bowl game, and that kind of opened things up for them to go down the field more and not run the clock out and go down and get a touchdown essentially. Not saying he's going to be another Marshawn Lynch, but Turbin, he looks like he can be a decent guy, and again, a guy that can benefit from the read option. And just overall, those guys can benefit from the read option in general. And then, of course, that opens up in the past, too, if Russell Wilson keeps it off the read option, maybe he can throw a pass down the field, and that opens things up. And, he's got an arm. Again, don't sell his arm short either, because he's definitely got an arm. And he's pretty accurate, and it's very very rare that he's going to throw 4 interceptions in a game like he did against Green Bay, 2 of which were tipped passes or whatever that maybe weren't entirely Russell Wilson's fault. So that's that, and that's started to click in this game against the Patriots late in the second half into the third quarter, and eventually that's the Seahawks would get ahead by 10 points. We'll pick up the conversation about the Super Bowl after this next break, because, looking at the clock here, it's 11:41. A couple minutes past the, I guess the give or take time that we try to take breaks here on KUR. So, we'll pick up with the conversation, and also making its grand return, I guess, if you want to say it's a grand return, if you view it that way. The Tyler Werner Show call out of the week, of course. We'll bring that up, and certainly it's always one of those drum roll situations. Who's it going to be this week, and yada yada. So we'll have that coming up before we hit halftime on the Tyler Werner Show, as I call it. And, continued Super Bowl talk or whatever right here on the Tyler Werner Show. 610-683-4058. That's how you can climb in on the phone lines if you so choose. You want to bring something to the table here. Your thoughts on the Super Bowl, the game itself, the commercials, the halftime show, or even the national anthem. Whatever you want to bring up right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio.
Tune in to Notice Latinas Sundays from 1 to 2 here on the Radio Voice, KUR, for the best in Latino news and commentary and music as well. It's Notice Latinas Sundays from 1 to 2 right here on KUR, the Radio Voice of Kutztown University.
Did you know that 80% of KU students don't binge drink?
Hanging posters again? Do you think that poster is really true?
Yes, it is true. I am a KU health ambassador and familiar with the audit. KU students participate in alcohol screening each year. We use the Alcohol Use Disorder Identification Test. It is a simple way to screen and identify people who are at risk of developing alcohol problems. We have learned that the majority of students are taking care of business and focusing on academics.
Most of my friends don't drink, so I guess what this poster is saying is true.
Would you like to get a group of friends together for a bite to eat?
Sounds great. Text me later.
Kutztown Living, neighbor to neighbor.
Funded by the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.
Yes, this is Lenny Kravitz, who was, I guess, a flash in the pan part of this halftime show this past week, the Super Bowl. I think it's odd and ironic, maybe sad in a way, because I think at some point in time, 10 to 15 years ago, maybe early to mid 2000s, Lenny Kravitz. On his own, I think he could have done a good halftime show. I think he would have been a plausible candidate for a halftime show if they were going to go, like a modern, I guess, hit guy. Because you have several years ago you had the Who, Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend, at least the surviving original members of the Who, and you had Paul McCartney do a kind of a Beatles themed halftime show. You had some big legendary names do halftime shows for the Super Bowl. So if they were, if Lenny Kravitz on his own did a halftime show today, I don't know how big of a deal that would really be. Because I don't know. He's one of those odd guy. 10 to 15 years ago, he would have been a big hit, I think, for the halftime show. And he's got some good songs he could do, and but it was weird. And it's again, I kind of say how it's kind of sad because he was out there. It's like he was out there for a sip of tea for the halftime show. I mean, they promoted his name as being one of the supporting names, well, the supporting name for the Katy Perry halftime show. Although Missy Elliott would also pitch in, I guess, too at some point. But they advertised Lenny Kravitz. I would have thought he would have had a bigger role than he did. It's kind of just that one song, playing a little guitar. But again, it's one of those it's kind of sad because at one point in time, he would have been a good front and center headliner for the Super Bowl, doing his, basically all, some of his hits, a few of his hits, whatever you want to say. But now, if today you were to say, let's have Lenny Kravitz do a halftime show, I hate to say it, but, dare I say it, but would this be the reaction to that? I don't know. And again, I don't mean to rip the guy. He's got some good songs, but he's just today. Again, I know Katy Perry's a big name, and it's about I guess money. Unfortunately, a little bit. Bringing all kinds of viewers to watch the halftime show, but again, I think it's kind of sad because I don't know if Lenny Kravitz is legendary enough to bring back have Paul McCartney years after the Beatles were finished or whatever, do a halftime show. I mean, yeah, that's plausible. Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, supporting the Who, and years after Keith Moon, and a decade or so after one of the greatest bass players of all time, John Entwistle, dying as well. I mean, kind of resurrecting the Who a little bit, and doing a halftime show. I mean, that makes sense. At some point, you got to have bands like those do halftime shows before they can anymore. That's not a shot at any of those guys, because I know Roger Daltrey, he's 70 years old, and he looks like he's in pretty good shape. He's aged pretty well. So not to rip it. The Rolling Stones, another example. At some point, I think it was inevitable that they were going to do a halftime show. And they're a big, they're one of those bands that has reunions after reunions, I guess you could say. So, but again, and then last year, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were the supporting act to Bruno Mars. They were maybe riding shotgun, I guess you could call it, to Bruno Mars. And again, I mean, at one time, again, maybe 10 years ago, maybe after Stadium Arcadium from what was it, 2005 or 2006 after that album came out, they could have been a plausible choice for a Super Bowl halftime show. And maybe they still could be, but they're, I don't know, to me, like the Chili Peppers, I don't know, I think they're past their prime. They had a hiatus, and after that hiatus, I don't know, they haven't really come out with anything that's really, that's on that level of like Californication and Stadium Arcadium, some of those, those big time albums that they had. I mean, I'd be in favor of them being like a main priority for a halftime show, but I don't know. They're kind of one of those bands that are a little bit in limbo right now, I guess you could say. But yeah, and later on in the show, maybe I'll bring up other possible bands. There was an interesting article I read about some older rock bands / classic rock bands or whatever that that people would like be interested in seeing do the halftime show, because I mean, not to rip Katy Perry or whatever, or whoever's done the halftime show in recent years, but I feel like now they're in this cycle where they're it's like screw rock music in general at the halftime show. I mean, ever since the Who, I mean, what didn't they have like Nickelback do it one year or whatever? And it's, I don't know. I know to like a lot of people out there, it's like you love or hate Nickelback. You love Nickelback, or they're, they sound like nails on a chalkboard to some people. At least mainly the singer getting the taking the hit for that. But it's just it's sad when I feel like these artists that are doing the shows in recent years, they're out there, and it's more about all the costumes and everything, and singing to pre-recorded music and everything, and not people up there playing the music. It's it's all about, it's about one individual, the singer only, and then all the glitz and glamour and everything. It's not about just straight up music and plain music. And there's possible halftime shows up there, and possible ideas that I'll throw out later. And this should come off as no surprise to anybody, because if the music I come out of breaks, and I come back to the air, doesn't hint that I'm kind of more of a straight rock guy. Not a straight rock, but I come back to some eclectic kind of music. But you never hear me. I'm sorry, not a shot here, but you never hear me come back to "I Kissed a Girl" or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't get me into I guess back up to speed with talking about sports. I guess I don't know. That's just me. And it, I don't know. I know some people like the halftime show. Some people were unfairly, I guess, brutal about the halftime show. To me, it's my feeling is it wasn't, it's not my thing. And if you enjoyed it, and if you love, guys out there love looking at Katy Perry, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Not quite my thing though. It feels lately, it feels a little more like a sideshow, and it's, I don't know, it's just not a great bridge to the second half of football. I don't know. I just feel like I'd rather have some analysis than have I don't know, what was it, like singing sharks and beach balls, whatever it was. I don't know. I know they had like fireworks and Katy Perry was flying around. I mean, maybe that was cool visually, but I don't know. It just not quite my thing. But if it was your thing, that's fine and dandy. Now, anyways, I got a message here from the KUR notebook to bring up. Attention, KU community, professional musicians and race relations experts Arno Michaelis and Daryl Davis will present a lecture called "No Place for Hate: A Conversation in Black and White" at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, February 25th in McFarland Student Union Room 218. They will discuss the transformative power of music, which can bind us in our humanity and eradicate racial boundaries. This message of radio interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And what do you know? I didn't read this ahead of time, but they will discuss the transformative power of music, which can bind us in our humanity and eradicate racial boundaries. To talk about irony. I didn't plan that out whatsoever. I picked up the piece of paper and I started reading it. But the things the power of music. I'll get into that later if I have time. But what we have to get to right now is the Tyler Werner Show Call Out of the Week.
It's time for Tyler Werner's Call Out of the Week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yes, and as we float around here with the Super Bowl 49 talk, the game, the halftime show, commercials, yada, yada, yada. There was a point in the game, well, basically when the game was essentially over, where I got to call out somebody specifically. I mean, I could call out a clan of guys here, but break it down and try to be a little more specific here because I have reason to call somebody out specifically. And that person is none other than Michael Bennett. Now, of course, the game, the controversial call, we'll get into later, it's at the 1 yard line when people thought the Seahawks, they should have run Marshawn Lynch and whatever. We'll get into that later. We have a whole nother hour after this to talk about that. But after that, that huge turnover by the Seahawks. Patriots had the ball at the 1 yard line, 20 seconds left, whatever. The Patriot, essentially they got it in the bag at this point. I mean, they gotta be careful how they take a knee because, they're backed up at the 1 yard. They don't want to get a safety, obviously, even though a safety alone would not lose them a game. But again, you never want to give back the ball to the Seahawks. Consider, you never know what they could have gone down and got a field goal after that. I don't know, but the point is, the Seahawks' frustration boils at this point. Michael Bennett, jumps off sides or encroachment, whatever. And, the indiscipline here, maybe it wouldn't have mattered, maybe not, but that brought the Patriots out to the 6 yard line at this point, which now they can take a knee, essentially, without worrying about backing up into the end zone and taking a safety or whatever. So, Michael Bennett, this happens, and so then the Patriots get the ball at the 6. They take the knee or whatever. And, I've been looking at the footage of this. A brawl breaks out, and Michael Bennett was one of the main instigators of this brawl. Rob Gronkowski, he threw a couple shots after he was getting shoved, and I think as far as Rob Gronkowski goes, I mean, it was a fight-or-flight response from him, and he just started, slapping guys on the back of the helmet, get out of here, and it looked like he was starting to get double and triple teamed as far as getting shoved, so I don't have a beef with Rob Gronkowski of how he reacted there. Clearly, the Seahawks, they were frustrated. Last game of the season, whatever, emotions were boiling high, but, so Michael Bennett, he's one of the main instigators of this. But now what happened was afterwards, Bennett took a shot at the media. Now, let's see. I have this on, I guess, the short audio sample on Vine. Let me roll it here. What Michael Bennett had to say about the brawl that erupted at the end of the Super Bowl this past Sunday, in case you didn't hear it.
They're fighting, and it gets a little rowdy sometimes. It comes down to that. It's one of those things where we're fighting, they're fighting. It gets a little rowdy sometimes. It comes down to that. It's one of those things where. All right. Well, this
is on I guess a stupid Vine link, and it doesn't say. Again, I'm kind of scrambling here to get audio up and everything, but no, the part I want to hear, which that isn't playing here. He said, Michael Bennett says to the reporter, his reaction to the question of, which I was listening closely to earlier when I could hear the question being asked from the member from the media, because I wanted to hear how the question was worded. And it was kind of just, the question was not worded out of line. It was, what happened with the brawl? Why did that whole brawl happen in the first place? And Michael Bennett, he says, which you kind of just heard a little bit of, I guess, on a loop, because for whatever reason they only want to show 3 seconds of it, not exactly the meat of it, the part that I want to hear, and so that everyone else can hear. But if you haven't heard it already, but he says, after being asked this, eventually he goes on to say, if you ever played football in your life, you'd understand that. If you, taking a shot at this media guy and saying if you ever did it, you probably never did anything more physical in your life than pick up a microphone.
What's the matter with you?
It's kind of silly because I kind of can feel for the reporter here a little bit. I mean, not that this was a big, maybe he just didn't care and kind of just, laughed at it, but because I've last semester, I sat and did interviews with, football guys on KU TV's Between the Lines program, Outside the Lines. I have vivid memories of, actually one of my first interviews I even did on the show on Outside the Lines when it was around campus. I interviewed an offensive lineman for the Kutztown Golden Bears football team who was a foot taller than me, and etc. And I think it's, I guess we can, we can all laugh. If you can laugh at yourself at times, that's a key part of life, I think. But but if somebody would have say something like that to me, I don't know, I'd just be like, I don't know, well, yesterday I did this at the weight room, or I don't know, or I went out and I ran 12 miles or something, because I do go out for 12-mile runs every now and then, and stuff like, so it's just like you never know what people are doing. You say that to the wrong guy or something, like not even just in an interview situation, but you say that to the wrong guy. Who knows? Maybe he's some Taekwondo / karate / MMA fighter. Maybe he's not as big as you. Maybe he doesn't look like he can, tear you down and destroy you or whatever. But who knows? You never know. So but to kind of say this to this media guy, I think that was like, what did the guy do to you other than ask you, a simple question? What happened with the brawl there? What was up with that? Because the brawl was kind of classless and, to say the least, and it felt forced. I mean, it was like suddenly, it's like, it goes back to my theories on hockey fights and, Zach Ronaldo and the Flyers, and I just wonder, like, what are you doing? Like, come on. It's not like the Patriots did, first of all, you jump off sides or whatever in a situation where you can't afford to do that. And even so, it's like, it's not like the Patriots offense did, instigated anything here. They had to take a knee, and they were doing what they had to do to take the knee, and I guess maybe draw a guy off sides or whatever. Michael Bennett fell for it. He jumps off sides, encroachment, whatever, and that's on you. And then to take out your frustration, I mean, that's too bad. I mean, the only person you have to be frustrated about, I guess, is at yourself, or if anything, I mean, I guess be frustrated at the interception play that just happened before that, I guess. I don't know. Because maybe, had that interception not happened, had something else happen, maybe that's the Seahawks winning that game. I don't know. But so that's my call out of the week there. And I think it's just due, considering I know how it feels to be a member of the media. And I don't know what kind of plausible reasons he had to say, it just comes off as classless, and it's pretty silly, I think. So that's that. Other than that, I mean, Michael Bennett's a great defensive player on the Seattle Seahawks, but just a bad, again, silliness, and I don't think it was warranted at all. All right, now, of course, we have to head to the next break. Now, I just realized I actually have to dig through a little bit here. Unfortunately, I forgot that we have to air the news and everything, and so I guess pardon my I guess random thoughts here. I guess as I try to dig through here on the the Winamp files and get things ready, so I can transition into what we have to do. All right, I have the legal ID ready. As I do this basically for the first time. All right, I have that ready. Got the news, traffic, and air disclaimer, which I'll do again. All right, I think I got everything set up here, and we're like almost 5 minutes past noon, but that's all right. That's fine. I'll make up for it with the other break times. So, number to get in, 610-683-4058. That's the number to get in. Much more talk coming up here about the Super Bowl right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio.
KUR Kutztown.
Hello? Where am I? I see someone. Is that you? No. Stay away from me. Wait. They're telling me to say something. Listen to Kutztown University Radio at 1670 AM. Streaming online at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. With select times of the day on Service Electric Berks Channel 24 and Hometown Utilicon Channel 28. Service Electric Lehigh Channel 266. On your smartphone using a free app like TuneIn. Or any phone by simply dialing 610-465-7860. Oh, they want me to go to the light. I'm afraid of the light. I'm afraid of the...
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
News, time for news.
The KUR News Time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. Kutztown Borough Police sent out a tweet on Tuesday morning about IRS tax scams going around. The scam has actually been going around for some time around the country, but now seems to have made it into the Kutztown region as some complaints have been received by Kutztown Police. In the scam, callers claiming to be employees of the IRS but are not. The con artists can sound convincing when they call using fake names and bogus IRS identification badge numbers. They may know a lot about their targets, and they sometimes can even alter the caller ID to make it look like it's the IRS calling. Victims are told they owe money to the IRS and it must be paid promptly through a preloaded debit card or wire transfer. If the victim refuses to cooperate, they are then threatened with arrest, deportation, or suspension of a business or driver's license. In many cases, the caller becomes hostile and insulting, or victims may be told they have a refund due to try to trick them into sharing private information. If the phone isn't answered, the scammers often leave an urgent callback request. IRS.gov reports that the IRS would never call you to demand immediate payment, nor will the agency call about taxes owed without first having mailed you a bill. They will not demand that you pay taxes without giving you the opportunity to question or appeal the amount they say you owe, or require you to use a specific payment method for your taxes, such as a prepaid debit card. The IRS also will not ask you for a credit or debit card number over the phone, or threaten to bring in local police or other law enforcement groups to have you arrested for not paying. If you get a call like this, IRS.gov says it's just a scam. Ignore it, and you can report it to officials at 1-800-366-4484. That's 1-800-366-4484. Checking KUR Sports, senior heavyweight Ziad Haddad of the Kutztown University wrestling team extended his winning streak to 44 matches with 2 bonus victories over the weekend and earned this week's Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference Co-Wrestler of the Week. Haddad is one of 5 seniors that will be honored during Senior Day on Saturday, February 7th at Keystone Arena when the 14th-ranked Golden Bears host 8th-ranked Lake Erie College at 2 p.m. Special thanks to KUBears.com for the support. Monsoon Mike says after a slight break midweek from our brutally cold temperatures, more very cold temperatures coming at the end of the week. In between, we have a weak system coming through whereabouts on late Wednesday into early Thursday and possibly even into Thursday afternoon. Periods of light snow or showers is likely. Remember, this will not be a major system by any shape or form, but it could still be enough to slick up some roads, so use caution in the area if you're out and about traveling. For late-breaking weather any time of the day, make sure you like Monsoon Mike's Weather Headquarters on Facebook. KUR will also like to remind you that live student specialty shows are now live on the air. Check out our full schedule at kutztown.edu/KUR and click on schedules. For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger. Have a great day.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
12:09 right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. Return back from the, the midway break here, and we're obviously talking about the very eventful Super Bowl game we had. Some of Deflategate talk here and there. Now I just got done talking about the brawl that happened at the end of that game, and of course, before I didn't even really talk about it yet, but the play, the play call, or whatever it's going to be called, whatever it's going to go down as is the call that Pete Carroll or whatever didn't make and should have made or whatever. They should have ran Marshawn Lynch or whatever at the 1 yard line, whatever you want to call it. I can't, quite frankly, I can't think of a title for it, but you get where I'm going with this. Obviously one of the main things this Super Bowl is going to be remembered for. Well, let's back it up a player whatever before that. When you think back to the Super Bowl against the Giants a few years ago, whenever it was with Tom Brady and chasing after his fourth Super Bowl ring, and you have that miraculous catch by the Giants that, basically kept things alive for the Giants, and, it had the Giants go on to win that Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. Here you have another similar situation here as far as miraculous catches goes, because, first of all, Tom Brady in the fourth quarter showing why he is, in my opinion, the best quarterback in NFL history. And, most accomplished, essentially, however you want to word it, when you make a top five. And I'll get into that later. And maybe in future episodes, I'll get into that with, Mitch Lambert on here or whoever else may co-host the show. That's a topic for later on the show and another day. But Tom Brady, as I kind of tread backwards here a little bit to kind of set the stage for this play for the Seahawks. Again, Tom Brady and the Patriots down 10 points heading into that fourth quarter. It looks like the Seahawks are rolling. Looks like the game, this might be a typical game where the Seattle Seahawks, they shut, in the second half, they get going and they shut down the other team and they, they ride off in the sunset and they win the game in typical Seattle Seahawk fashion. Well, Tom Brady here, it goes, 14 for 15 in the fourth quarter, 2 key touchdown passes, obviously. And eventually, the Patriots, they find their way up by 4 points late in the fourth quarter. And that obviously, that's a key number. Not 3 points, because 3 points, obviously, the Seahawks, they can go down, they can tie it here. No, the Seahawks, with only a couple minutes left on the clock, they have to go down and get a touchdown. They can't settle for anything less, essentially. Because if the Patriots get the ball, kick a field goal, you're still down. And the Patriots get the ball, they just got to run the clock out, whatever would be left of it, and that's basically that. But no, the Seahawks have to go down and get a touchdown here. They're down 28-24 or whatever. And what happens essentially, well, they throw a nice wheel pass to Marshawn Lynch out in the flat, and he gets a big gain. And I would have thought after that, and maybe they continue to use beast mode, as they call them, maybe, because they, here they have. Well, first of all, they have one receiver, Matthews, who, again, I mean, nobody really knew. I mean, I think this was the guy that was it Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels. They were saying how, they picked him up from working at Foot Locker or whatever up until this point or what. So, this is essentially a no-name guy, but he had some big key receptions in this game for big gains. And but here, so, they're trying to go down the field. Russell Wilson, he's having a tough time completing some passes here, and not a big surprise considering this is a good New England secondary. And at this point, they're in prevent mode. They're trying not to give up any deep pass plays. So Russell Wilson, he throws one downfield, incomplete. Nice defense by the New England Patriots. Another play, and this is the memorable catch of this Super Bowl. He throws one deep down, the right sidelines around the 5-yard line, and it's broken up by the New England Patriots. Two guys on Jermaine Kearse there in good coverage, and the pass is broken up. Or no, wait a minute, it's broken up, but it's caught. And the guy, he's laying on the ground, and the ball happens to land right where he can catch it still, and without it hitting the ground, and that's exactly what he does. And I'm watching this play, and I'm guilty of thinking, all right, that was another nice pass breakup by the Patriots. And then all of a sudden, Kearse catches it. I'm thinking, wait a minute, like, I don't know if that ball ever hit the ground, and he just caught it while he's on his back. And he gets up. He gets up, and he doesn't get in the end zone or whatever. He gets up and he gets tackled at the 5 or 6, and so that's, had he gotten in the end zone, I mean, could be a totally different story here. But he catches the ball on his back, and I'm guilty of thinking that was a breakup. And you could see the defenders that were on that play. It seemed like as the ball was like dropping down to Jermaine Kearse, it looked like, they thought like, all right, nice breakup, 3rd down, bring it on. And but no, he caught the ball, and so that sets things up at the 6-yard line. So then 1st down, handoff to Marshawn Lynch, not a surprise. He gets 5 yards, and that sets things up at the 1-yard line. Now there's like over a minute left here, and for whatever reason, I guess, I mean, well, they called a timeout after. I'm trying to think. After that big catch, they called a timeout, and that brought them down to 1 timeout. So they have 1 timeout left in the bank, but it's still like over. It's still, I don't know, it's still like a minute and 20 or whatever. Next play, they run Marshawn Lynch, and he gets 5 yards. They're down at the 1. Now after this, the clock's starting to run, and for whatever reason, it's like I don't know, Pete Carroll, whatever, the Seahawks offense, it's like they're fiddle-faddling around here. Seconds are ticking away at the clock, and the Seahawks, they decide to throw the ball instead. Now, this is where I guess a lot of people have controversy here. First of all, they're lined up in shotgun. I was a little surprised about that, I guess, but this was like lackluster play. First of all, again, they're like running down the clock. I don't know what they're doing. They're fooling around, and so now had they not fiddle-faddled around, and been a little more prepared for what they were going to do, and maybe had a better idea in mind, time would not be an issue here as far as the play call goes. You could run the ball, you could do whatever, because you'd still have a minute or whatever left on the clock. You're at the 1-yard line. All you have to do is get in the end zone, and pretty much it's game over. But, I guess somehow the Seahawks, they managed to shoot themselves in the foot here as far as time is concerned, and that brought things down to the 20 or whatever. So now they're kind of handicapping themselves because they Now time is against them. So you run the ball, you only have one time. Essentially, you run the ball and you have to burn your last timeout. Because they're at 20 seconds now or whatever. So they don't run Marshawn Lynch here. They try a pick play, which worked earlier. But this guy from the Patriots, who, again, I don't even remember his first name because I'm not, I don't have a sheet of notes here or whatever, but Butler, who Tom Brady is, donating his MVP truck to because, well, quite frankly, I can kind of see why, because Butler made one of the, biggest, he made a great play on this ball here. Now, the play call, again, I criticized the play call. It was something, it was an inside pass here. It was supposed to be a quick slant pass, but this guy Butler from the Patriots, he's not even a starter. Again, he's another one of these guys, I don't want to say off the streets, but just kind of out of the blue that the Patriots bring into the mix here, and he makes one of the most important plays perhaps in Super Bowl history, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, when you go, I'm sure once, maybe the next time they make like on NFL films or whatever, they make a top 10 countdown of, biggest crucial plays or whatever you want to call it in Super Bowl history. This play is going to be one of them. Or maybe like intense finishes or whatever, because this Super Bowl certainly had one of the most intense finishes I can remember. And Butler makes that incredible play, and that leads to all the controversy of the play call. A lot of people were saying, why would you not run Marshawn Lynch? And I was thinking this out in my head as well. First of all, again, the whole idea of the way they were running down the clock, even though they should not have been, and it didn't look like they were prepared. It didn't like they knew what to. They didn't. It looked like they did not know what to do. That's you got to be very critical of that. The play call, again, it was kind of just it felt one-dimensional, and it was something that maybe worked earlier, but the Patriots defense, they scouted this out, and the defender, Butler, on the play he made, it looked like he wanted the ball more, the way he barged in there, and he intercepted the ball. That's the bottom line. If he didn't catch the ball, if it was just a broken-up pass, the Seahawks, they still have a couple more cracks at, to get in the end zone. But intercepting the ball and basically calling it a ball game is, makes that play even more crucial and that much bigger of a deal and that much more of a deciding play of the game. I would have done, if it was me, I might have tried to, again, it goes back to the read option here and how I'd be very intrigued to see what Chip Kelly could do with a quarterback who can run the read option, because I'm sorry, but Nick Foles, he just doesn't, he's not the guy you're going to run the read option with.
How's everyone doing?
Yeah, but I would have done, if for me, if this is a situation here exactly, maybe I'm playing a game of Madden or something, I probably, read option pass play. Because they're thinking, all right, that you're going to run the ball, perhaps. You just got 5 with Marshawn Lynch. The way they were lined up, the Patriots defense, they probably think, they might try to run the ball here again. So read option, Russell Wilson keeps it, but then, maybe he hits, Jermaine Kearse on a fade route near the corner of the end zone. Something like that, or Doug Baldwin or whoever. That's my thought as far as calling a play here, because it's easy to say that they should have ran the ball, but again, you got to take into account the fact that that Marshawn Lynch, who at the 1 yard line throughout this past season, he's 1 for 5 as far as punching it in, which is a bit ironic of a stat, but you get the point. That's a bit ironic there, but play fake, read option. I think you may have had a better chance at doing that. You had to think outside the box here. I think they were a little too one-dimensional here in that play call. And again, they were fiddle-faddling around for 40 seconds or however long it was after that 5-yard game from Marshawn Lynch. So that's my thoughts. And again, I'd like to hear your thoughts. 610-683-4058 or at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. Now, before we hit the next break, I'm going to read another announcement from the KUR notebook, something that's starred here, so I guess I should definitely bring this up. And it's Thursday, February 5th, 11 to 11:50 a.m. at the McFarland Student Union Building, room 250. Finding internships. How can you be sure what you want to do is really what you want to do? How do you find what it is you really like to be a blank? How can you get someone to hire you if you don't have experience? How can you get experience if no one will hire you? Internships and related summer or part-time jobs are the answers. Discover the ways to find those internships and differentiate yourself from other candidates / the competition. So that's another announcement there from the KUR notebook. And now we hit the next break. Again, 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back with more discussion right here on Kutztown Radio.
You're listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
12:26, right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio, the first edition here during the spring semester 2015. It's another pretty cold day right now, but I don't know. It seems like it might warm up a little bit throughout the afternoon, so it's not too bad. It's been a little frigid lately, though. So just continue to bundle up, but. Hard to believe, but we're almost, month away from, well, not even a month away, but, 3.5 weeks away from March, and, things will start to warm up again. So, so far, this winter has not been too bad. I mean, we haven't had any big, major snowstorms like last winter when, we had foot of snow plus at times and, et cetera. Hopefully I'm not jinxing that, but so far, I've had small snowstorms for the most part, and that's perfectly fine with me as long as it's nothing major and etc. That's that's gonna really do a number on your car and everything, and just be difficult to drive through. But these little small ones, totally all right with. Now I just got in case you just joined us, I just got done talking about the call, I guess as it'll go down, or at the 1 yard line with the Seattle Seahawks, and how that the play call maybe lost him the game. I mean, Russell Wilson, who'd been pretty decent up to that point, throws an interception at the worst time. I don't think it was as much Russell Wilson's fault. I mean, it was a great defensive play. You got to give credit to the Patriots there, and that's the bottom. That's the bottom line. And the receiver, it didn't look like he wanted the ball maybe as much as the defender did, who Butler, who barged in there and grabbed that thing and basically sealed the deal for the New England Patriots there, and got Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the rest of the New England Patriots their fourth Super Bowl ring. Now I gotta kind of point this out. I don't know who else noticed this either in some of the the post game interviews, such as the one with Dan Patrick and Rob Gronkowski on that stand after the game was over. And now this, before we even, I guess, bring it, discuss it, I mean, just so everybody's clear, this is Rob Gronkowski's first Super Bowl championship. The Patriots, obviously, 2001, 2003, 2004 seasons, Brady and Belichick, etc. They, had a dynasty essentially during those seasons, and they put together 3 rings, which makes 10 years later, winning this Super Bowl, and that gap in between where they had a couple Super Bowl appearances, but losses to the Giants. It makes this one like that much more intriguing to me that they hadn't won in 10 years, even though they've been there a couple times. But after all, it just goes to show you that scandal or this or whatever, the Patriots, they brought it in this game, and there were no, again, the balls in this game were watched over like a hawk for obvious reasons because of the whole Deflategate thing that happened last week. So there's no controversies here as far as that goes, no scandals or whatever. The Patriots, they won this game, and they did what they needed to do to win this game. Plain and simple, fair and square, however you want to word it. And just, again, this is the Seahawks. This is one of the best defenses in NFL history, as people are saying. That, Tom Brady, other than a couple of interceptions, he threw 50 times in this game. Normally, you don't win a football game when you throw 50 times in a game. Now, out of those 50, he completed 37 out of those 50 for like a 74% completion percentage. That's impressive against this secondary, who maybe Richard Sherman was a little banged up, but I mean he's still Richard Sherman's still Richard Sherman. They still got maybe the greatest secondary top to bottom in NFL history, if you ask me, as far as depth goes. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason here, as they gotta pay a lot of guys, and they got to figure out what they're going to do with their limited cap space. But I would think Richard Sherman will be a staple for years to come at the Seahawks, as well as Cam Chancellor. I wouldn't let either of those guys. I would not pay either of those guys. But there's a couple other guys they might have to deal away. But but again, this is historically great defense here. Brady, he threw a couple of interceptions, but then he still threw 4 touchdown passes. He was 14 for 15 in the fourth quarter. 14 for 15, again, against this incredible defense that was absolutely on a roll since the middle of the season, and that had not lost a game since the middle of the season. I mean, this is... no deflated balls or whatever under the PSI limit or whatever, which I actually read a little bit of an update later, or a possible update, which I'll bring up a little later in the show towards the end. But there's no debate here really as far as fairness. This was, and I liked how the officiating this game. I mean, they kind of just let them play. The refs, they didn't really make any unnecessary calls. Now, early in the game, they maybe should have, that one roughing the punter penalty or whatever, since it was the plant foot or the plant leg that the Seattle special teams guy ran into on the New England punter. I guess they did make a mistake there, as Chris Collinsworth was pointing out. Maybe to the annoyance of some people, because I know some people, they don't like Chris Collinsworth. I think he's all right, though. And he So maybe that would have been a fresh set of downs for the Patriots there. But other than that, after that, I mean, there was nothing as far as controversial calls here for the from the referees. They kind of just let them play, and I like that. So that was pretty much that in a nutshell. So I guess going back to the Deflategate update, I was reading earlier. Let me. I don't think I have the article up right now, but I'm hearing that according to NFL Network. Okay, all right. I do have the article up here. It's like a combination of articles here in one post. Let me read this here. Deflategate could be turning in the Patriots' favor if the latest media leak in the NFL's investigation proves true. Now, according to an anonymously sourced NFL Network report Sunday morning, just one of the 12 footballs used by New England in the first half of the AFC Championship game 2 weeks ago was judged by league officials to be 2 pounds of air per square inch below the NFL's 12.5 PSN. And of course, the league's official network initially reported that 12 of the 11 balls were underinflated, but that contradicted an ESPN report from this past week that all 11 of the suspect balls were 2 psi below the limit. But the NFL Network reported many of the underinflated balls were just a few ticks under the minimum. So that's right now. That's I guess we'll continue to stay up to speed with this, and a lot can happen between now and next week's edition of the Tyler Werner Show, as far as this Deflategate investigation goes. So some of that, I guess remains to be seen. But so I played a little of the Tom Brady press conference mid 2 weeks ago, I guess it was already. It was like a half hour long and all kinds of questions his way. Now let's, because I believe it was then the Saturday after that press conference, Bill Belichick came out and did a, kind of like an Andy Reid, like time's yours kind of thing on the matter.
Time's yours.
Belichick went into a pretty long explanation, and like a scientific one to say the least, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll play some of that here because it's kind of to bridge from the Tom Brady press conference of earlier. Bill Belichick, and then he offered, if you have any questions on the matter, I'm basically, this is all I have to say, or whatever. But he offered some time for questions, and so, but I'll play a little bit of the Bill Belichick, and it's just, it's kind of classic Bill Belichick monotone, and it's just the way he words things, and he, some people might take it the wrong way. Obviously, it's kind of comical, but it was a very detailed, I guess, experiment that Bill Belichick went through, and here's some of what he had to say about that.
Very easily identifiable. When I feel a football, I can feel the difference between slippery and tacky. I can feel the difference between the texture of the ball, of what degree it's broken in. If you put 5 balls out there, which ball's broken in the most, which ball's broken in the least, that's easy to identify, and that's the essence of the preparation. We prepare our balls over time, and we use them in practice. And that preparation process continues right up until the balls are given to the officials prior to the game. That's when they are finalized, if I could use that word. I would say that in that process, I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify. The pressure of the balls, footballs, is a whole different story. It's much more difficult to feel or identify. So the focus of our pregame preparation for the footballs is based on texture and feel. And I think Tom went into that extensively on Thursday and he obviously could go through it a lot better than I can because he's the one that touched them. But that's the heart of the process. So we simulated a game day situation in terms of the preparation of the footballs and where the footballs were at various points in time during the day or night, as the case was Sunday. And I would say that our preparation process for the footballs is what we do. All right, I can't speak for anybody else. It's what we do, and that process we have found raises the PSI approximately 1 pound.
All right, so that's just a little bit of a taste for that, and there's like questions later on in the interview, and I don't know, don't have all the time in the world to listen to more of that today, but we'll see what happens in the next week, and maybe go back to some of this audio because it's kind of fun, and then like Bill Nye the Science Guy, even chimed in about this, and I guess kind of said that's that's a bunch of rubbish and everything, and what he's saying. I don't know, but that was it's kind of Bill Belichick's I guess the brief sample of that in case you haven't heard it and everything, and it featured one of his very distracting nose clears there as well. But anyways, that's pretty much that matter for now. So we got to hit the next break, and especially running a little short on time today for the first edition of the Tyler Werner Show back from winter break. It's good to be back on KUR for one more semester. So 610-683-4058. It would be good to hear from any interested listeners out there, or at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show as well. So with that in mind, it's the Tyler Werner Show. We're back after this.
It's almost time for you to discover This Way Out. Hi, I'm coordinating producer Greg Gordon, inviting you to tune in to This Way Out, the international gay and lesbian radio magazine, here on Kutztown University Radio, 1670 AM.
1 to 1:30 on Thursdays here on the Radio Voice, KUR.
Kutztown University's Department of Information Technology recently launched MyKU Mobile, which can be accessed at mykumobile.kutztown.edu. MyKU Mobile provides a quick way for students to view grades, financial aid information, announcements, and schedules, all from your phone. The new site also integrates with social networking sites, enabling students to post their schedules on Twitter and Facebook without ever having to use a computer. Make sure to visit myku.kutztown.edu for the best way to view MyKU on your phone.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify. The pressure of the balls is a whole different story.
Yes, that was some of Bill Belichick in that press conference from last week before any of this interesting Super Bowl even happened this past Sunday. And an interesting Super Bowl certainly it was, with this being a major storyline heading into this. It's playing the second version of that little intro there. I guess I forgot to shut that audio off there, but now it's off. There we go. Again, I'm doing all this, doing this on my own here, so it's a couple little kinks to work out here, but other than that, it's been a fairly smooth show. So, but anyhow, so that's that. That'll continue to be a major topic of discussion here. Of course, I just mentioned earlier there was a report that came out from NFL Network, an anonymous report, that only one of the balls were deflated. One of the footballs, as I think Bill Belichick was at times trying to, clarify there, given that, I guess, Tom Brady in the same kind of conversation, trying not to crack up in laughter about this, which maybe, if you were listening earlier, you may have taken notice to as well. Certainly his facial reactions, in the press conference, the Tom Brady one, you can tell he's trying not to laugh about the matter. But Bill Belichick, he, just the way he talks, he's not, he rarely cracks a smile. I mean, I think it's funny because you go back to the, we're on the Cincinnati press conference way back after losing to the Kansas City Chiefs, when everybody, a lot of people thought the New England Patriots were done, and to some extent, I thought they're just not quite as good. But the great teams figure it out in the season, and that's what the Patriots did.